What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the October 14th, 2024 edition of Raw Talk. Much like last week, this episode was around an hour long, 57 minutes in length. I skipped through all the bullshit again, that being the replays. They literally took a moment at one point to replay a fucking YouTube video of the top 10 champion versus champion matches, which isn't even like a real, legitimate list. It's one of those WWE YouTube lists where people get upset about it. No one even paid attention to it the other day when they put it up on their channel. But my point is, they replayed the entire video, all 7-8 minutes of it, on fucking Raw Talk here. Like, what's even the point? Why make this a 57-minute show? I won't go on the same length of rant that I did last week, but it just doesn't make sense to me. So, I've said this before, I'll probably continue to watch and review the show through the end of the year, and it'll likely go back to being 25-30 minutes when Raw arrives on Netflix, and they're probably doing 3 hours there. 3+ hours, a little under 3 hours. It'll probably go back to being a 20-30 minute show on Peacock at that point. But still, in the meantime, it's a completely fucking pointless show, even more than it was previously. SmackDown Lowdown is more enjoyable to watch with Stanford and Moran on Saturdays than Moran and Roberts on Mondays at this point, or now it's on Fridays, is SmackDown Lowdown. But anyway, let's get into it here. They replay the ending to Raw where Liv and Raquel took on Tiffany and Rhea in a tag team match. They hype up Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax one-on-one at Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel Championship. I currently don't really care, but they're trying to build it, so there's that. They replay the WWE Women's Tag Team title match with Bianca and Jade beating Damage Control to retain the titles. We heard from Bianca and Jade here. Bianca said that Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson got in their business again because they did provide an unintentional assist to the champions by attacking Damage Control at ringside and helping the champs retain the belts. But they do say they do love Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend's confidence, and they are making the division more interesting. Jade says they welcome competition from all three brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and if they want it, come get it. We then hear from the Metaphor right afterward, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson backstage. They basically say that they're not done with the champs, and they will go through whoever they need to get those WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Coming back from commercial, they show Samantha Irvin singing at the Vegas Raiders game the other day, which is cool. Rey Mysterio was also there. They replay Cody Rhodes and Gunther, their segment from Raw, their back and forth, which was really good stuff. We then hear from Ludwig Kaiser, who we have not seen on Raw in a couple of weeks, actually. I think since he lost to, was it Sammy? He had a match with Sammy like 2-3 weeks ago. We haven't seen him since, I don't think, on Raw. But he says that Cody might provide an actual challenge for Gunther, but he also doesn't know what's next for him personally. He doesn't really answer that question, and that was it. This is when they show the top 10 champion versus champion matches in WWE history, which one isn't even accurate, and included a lot of matches I don't even remember, and that's not a good thing. They included matches I don't give a fuck about. They included matches that no one even really remembers, but excluded like the actual important matches, champion versus champion matches that should have been included, but they didn't. I can understand why they would not include any Brock matches, but two of the best champion versus champion matches this company has ever done included Brock, when Brock took on AJ in 2017 and Daniel Bryan in 2018, both at Survivor Series, but whatever. They replay the War Raiders taking on Alpha Academy. The War Raiders returning, winning, and advancing in the tag team title tournament. They hype up New Day versus Authors of Pain, and the LWO's Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio taking on the Creed brothers in 2 other tournament matches next week. They replay Kofi Kingston losing to Braun Breaker on Raw. They replay literally the entire match between R-Truth and Miz, because it was only a minute, but they want to kill as much time as fucking possible on Raw Talk, so they replay the entire thing. Beforehand, the match itself, and the aftermath, which, again, totaled probably 2 minutes, but still, they didn't even attempt to, shorten it down. They just showed the entire thing. We hear from Miz. He says that he regrets shaking R-Truth's hand, and that was what cost him the win. Kind of complains about that for a minute, and that was pretty much it. They replay Sheamus and Pete Dunne from last week. The good old-fashioned Donnybrook match, the Donnybrook match they had about a week ago. It was a really good match, but it was a fucking week ago. Why did they replay the match? Now, I know we heard from Pete Dunne here, but did they really need to replay the match? That was just a waste of time. Because they did the exact same thing last week when they spoke to Sheamus. They replayed the match and then interviewed Sheamus. Why replay the match again? A week later. It was weird. Pete Dunne says that he still hates Sheamus, but he did prove that he was going to beat him so bad that he'll never say Butch again, which he did. Or he did not say the match, or did not say the name again. When Sheamus was interviewed on the show last week, he said, "He earned my respect. He's no longer Pete Dunne, or he's no longer Butch, rather. He's officially Pete Dunne." So he kind of got what he wanted, did Pete Dunne. They run down the Slam in 7, the top 7 slams of the night. I don't really give a fuck, so I skipped that. They replayed the main event again, the women's tag team main event again. And then they run down Sam Roberts' top 5 for the night. Jakara Jackson, the Lash Legend, at 5. Braun Breaker at 4. Jey Uso, the Intercontinental Champion, at 3. The War Raiders returning at 2. And Dominic Mysterio, per usual, at number 1 for saving Liv Morgan in the Women's World Championship at the end of the show. They also hype up, in addition to the 2 tag team tournament matches I mentioned earlier for next week, they also hype up Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker Part 2 for the Intercontinental Championship on Raw next week. So another completely a fucking waste of time here was Raw Talk. I don't know what interviews are exclusive to Raw Talk and what interviews are not, because it sounded like the interviews with the champions and Metaphor and the women like that and the people like that were on, they were on the YouTube channel too. But there's some interviews that are not on the YouTube channel. So like the Miz one was last night. And typically when they do that, I noticed last week I thought that the interviews that were not on the YouTube channel were exclusive to Raw Talk. But then it sounded like the way they were talking that this aired on Raw Talk, like, I don't know, it was fucking confusing. It's really confusing. Sometimes they just film interviews exclusive for .com and the YouTube channel, and then other interviews just for Raw Talk. That was the way that it always was. Now that Raw Talk is a fucking hour long for no reason at all, there is no rhyme or reason to any of this. You can catch the interviews individually on their YouTube channel. The rest of the episode is completely fucking pointless. So they interviewed Kaiser here, and that was exclusive to the channel, or rather to Raw Talk, rather. Pete Dunne, that interview was also exclusive to Raw Talk. That might have been it. They advertised an interview with Lyra Valkyria, who was not on Raw this week. That didn't even air. Megan Moran fucked up at one point and said, "Oh, Braun Breaker and Kofi coming up next week," and then they replayed the match from tonight because it's not happening next week. I mean, botches happen. This show's a fucking mess. I mean, it's very clear they're doing it on the fly and live. I get it. It's what happens. And it was only the second week in an hour-long format. But this is a complete waste of fucking time. Like, at least Raw Talk previously, it was like a 29 or 25-minute condensed version of Raw with some exclusive interviews that they also put up on the YouTube channel, but it was more organized than what we're getting now. Who's going to sit through a fucking hour-long episode of Raw Talk and replays when you could just watch Raw itself now that it's 2 hours? That just doesn't make sense to me. Again, the whole principle of making Raw Talk essentially the third hour of Raw and having it end around 11 when Raw would usually end, in theory it makes sense, but they don't, to my knowledge, unless I missed it, they don't even fucking hype Raw Talk on Raw, so what's even the point? Why even bother? So that was Raw Talk in a nutshell. Again, a complete waste of time for October 14th, 2024. I said I might wait until the end of the year to wrap up these Raw Talk reviews. I might wrap it up before that because I don't know if I could sit through this every week. I think I got through the show in like 25 minutes. It's 57 minutes long. I do not watch this shit live. I watched it today on Tuesday. And after skipping through all the bullshit, it probably took me like 20, 25 minutes. Like, honestly, no, not even an exaggeration. That is how long it took me to watch the show without all the bullshit. The commercials and video packages, fucking YouTube videos being replayed. Like, well, what are we doing here? I applaud their effort. It's not really on Sam and Megan. It's more on the formatting of the show. It just sucks. Maybe they're seeing what works, what doesn't. I don't know. Currently, in my opinion, this does not work. It sucks. But thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.